Hello, my name is Rachel Morrison. I'm 31 years old and I work as a pediatric nurse at Children's Hospital. For the past 6 years, I've been trying to hold my family together, despite the chaos that my older brother Kevin seems to create wherever he goes. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about betrayal, family loyalty, and the moment when keeping someone's secrets becomes more harmful than exposing their truth. To understand this story, you need to know about my family dynamics. Kevin is 34, charming in that dangerous way that makes people overlook his flaws until it's too late. He's been married to Amanda for 8 years, and they have two beautiful children, Emma, 6, and Tyler, 4. To the outside world, they look like the perfect family. Kevin works in sales and has always been good at presenting the image people want to see. I've always been close to Amanda. When Kevin first brought her home 9 years ago, I was the one who welcomed her into the family, helped her navigate our complicated dynamics, and supported her through the early years of their marriage when Kevin was still figuring out how to be a responsible husband and father. Our family has a tradition of hosting a big 4th of July barbecue every year. It's held at our parents' house, with their sprawling backyard that can accommodate our extended family of about 30 people. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends, and neighbors who've become like family over the years. It's always been one of my favorite days of the year, a time when everyone comes together to celebrate and catch up. This year's barbecue was particularly important because my cousin Lisa was visiting from California with her new boyfriend, Marcus. Lisa is 29, recently divorced, and this was the first time she was bringing someone to meet the family since her marriage ended 2 years ago. Everyone was excited to meet Marcus and make him feel welcome. What I didn't expect was to watch my brother Kevin make a complete fool of himself and break his wife's heart in front of our entire family. But before I tell you about what happened at the barbecue, you need to know about what Kevin did last summer, because that secret was the ammunition I would eventually use to protect the people I love. Last July, while Amanda was visiting her sick mother in Ohio with the kids, Kevin told everyone he was going on a business trip to Miami. But Kevin doesn't have business in Miami. I know this because I accidentally discovered the truth when I needed to reach him for an emergency, and the hotel he was supposedly staying at had no record of his reservation. Hello, my name is Rebecca Thompson. I'm 29 years old, and I work as a marketing manager for a nonprofit organization. 6 months ago, I thought I was living a fairy tale. Happily married to my college sweetheart, Michael, expecting our first child, and preparing for what I believed would be the most beautiful chapter of our lives together. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about betrayal at the most vulnerable moment of a woman's life, about how some people reveal their true character when you need them most, and about the moment I decided that my son deserved better than a father who couldn't even stop cheating during his birth. To understand this story, you need to know about the foundation of my relationship with Michael. We met during our sophomore year at university, dated through college, and got married 3 years ago in what everyone called a perfect wedding. Michael works as a financial analyst at an investment firm, and we seem to have everything figured out: stable careers, a beautiful home in the suburbs, and plans for a family. When we found out I was pregnant 8 months ago, Michael seemed as excited as I was. He came to most of my prenatal appointments, helped set up the nursery, and talked enthusiastically about teaching our son to play baseball and take him fishing. He read parenting books, researched the best car seats, and even practiced swaddling techniques on dolls. But during my second trimester, I started noticing subtle changes in Michael's behavior. He was working later hours, spending more time on his phone, and seemed distracted during conversations about the baby. When I asked about it, he said he was under pressure at work and trying to secure a promotion before the baby arrived so we'd have more financial security. "I want to be able to provide everything our son needs," he would say when I questioned his long absences. "This promotion will set us up for the future." I believed him because I wanted to believe him. I was dealing with pregnancy fatigue, morning sickness, and the overwhelming preparation for becoming a first-time mother. It was easier to accept his explanations than to investigate my growing suspicions. The signs were there, though.
Text messages that he would quickly close when I walked into the room, phone calls he would take in another room, claiming they were work-related, weekend client meetings that seemed to happen more frequently as my pregnancy progressed. But I convinced myself that I was being paranoid, that pregnancy hormones were making me suspicious of innocent interactions. Michael was going to be a father soon. Surely he wouldn't jeopardize our family for anything or anyone. I was wrong.
After 6 hours of labor, I was finally ready to push. Dr. Martinez positioned herself at the foot of the bed, the nurses prepared the delivery equipment, and Michael stood beside me, supposedly ready to support me through the final stage of bringing our son into the world. "Okay, Rebecca," said Dr. Martinez, "with the next contraction, I want you to push as hard as you can." The contraction came, and I pushed with everything I had, gripping Michael's hand tightly. When it ended, I collapsed back against the pillows, exhausted but determined. That's when I heard it, the distinctive sound of Michael typing on his phone. I turned my head and saw him, one hand supposedly supporting me, while the other was rapidly typing a message. During the most intense, vulnerable moment of my life, while I was literally bringing his child into the world, Michael was texting someone. "Michael," I gasped, "what are you doing?" "Nothing, just letting people know how you're doing," he said quickly, but he didn't meet my eyes. Another contraction started, and I had to focus on pushing, but the image of him texting during my labor was burned into my mind. Who was so important that he couldn't wait until after our son was born to contact them? When the contraction ended, I reached for his phone before he could stop me. The screen was still lit up with his messages, and what I saw made my blood run cold. The conversation was with someone named Ashley Loveheart, and the most recent message, sent literally while I was pushing, read, "I miss you so much. Can't wait until this is all over and we can be together properly." Her response, which had come in during my last push, read, "I miss you too. How much longer?" And Michael's reply, sent while I was in active labor delivering his son, "Almost done. Then we can figure out our future." I stared at the phone in shock, processing what I was reading while another contraction built. "Rebecca, I need you to push now," Dr. Martinez said urgently, unaware of the personal catastrophe unfolding beside her medical emergency. I pushed, but my mind was reeling from what I had just read. Michael was having an affair. He was texting his mistress while I was giving birth to our child. He was making plans for their future while I was bringing his son into the world. "Great job, Rebecca. I can see the head. One more big push," Dr. Martinez encouraged. I summoned strength I didn't know I had and pushed with a fury, fueled by betrayal and determination. My son entered the world with a strong, healthy cry. "Congratulations, Rebecca. I can see the head. One more big push," Dr. Martinez encouraged. I summoned strength I didn't know I had and pushed with a fury fueled by betrayal and determination. My son entered the world with a strong, healthy cry. "Congratulations," Dr. Martinez said, placing my baby on my chest. "You have a beautiful, healthy boy." The moment I held my son, everything else faded away. He was perfect, pink and squirming and absolutely beautiful. But even as I marveled at this tiny person I had created, I was acutely aware that his father had been cheating on us both throughout my entire pregnancy. "He's perfect," Michael said, trying to touch the baby, but I pulled away instinctively. "Don't," I said, quietly, my voice deadly calm despite the storm of emotions inside me. "Rebecca, what's wrong?" Michael asked, clearly confused by my reaction. "I saw your messages," I said, looking directly into his eyes. "I saw what you were doing while I was giving birth to your son." Michael's face went white. "Rebecca, I can explain." "You were texting your girlfriend while I was in labor. You were making plans for your future with her while I was bringing your child into the world."
The medical team around us continued their post-delivery procedures, but I could sense their discomfort with the tension in the room. "It's not what you think," Michael said desperately. Ashley is just what? Just someone you miss so much that you had to text her during the birth of your son? Just someone you're planning a future with while your wife is literally giving you a child?" Michael couldn't answer because there was no acceptable answer. "I need you to leave," I said, holding my son closer to my chest. "I need you to leave this room right now." "Rebecca, please, we can talk about this. Don't make any hasty decisions while you're emotional." "Emotional?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I just discovered my husband is cheating on me while I'm giving birth. I think emotional is an appropriate response." "But the baby," Michael started. "The baby will be fine," I said firmly. "He'll be better than fine. He'll be raised by someone who actually values family and commitment."
After Michael left the delivery room, I spent the next few hours bonding with my son while processing the complete collapse of my marriage. The nurses were incredibly supportive, giving me space when I needed it and help when I asked for it. "Is there someone else you'd like us to call?" asked Linda, my primary nurse. "Family members who should know about the baby?" "Not yet," I said. "I need some time to figure things out first." What I needed most was legal advice. I was holding a newborn baby, discovering my husband's affair, and realizing I was probably looking at a divorce while still in a hospital bed. It was overwhelming, but I knew I had to protect both my son and myself. I called my friend Sarah, who worked as a paralegal at a family law firm. "Sarah, I need help," I said when she answered. "Michael's been cheating on me, I just gave birth, and I need to know what my options are." "Oh my God, Rebecca! Are you okay? Is the baby okay?" "We're both fine physically," I said. "But I need legal advice immediately. Can you connect me with someone from your firm?" "Absolutely. Let me call David Morrison. He's one of our best family law attorneys, and he's handled cases like this before. I'll have him call you within the hour." David Morrison called me 45 minutes later. His voice was calm and professional, exactly what I needed in that moment. "Mrs. Thompson, Sarah explained your situation. First, congratulations on your son's birth. Second, I'm very sorry you're dealing with this during what should be a joyful time." "Thank you," I said. "I need to know how to protect myself and my baby." The first thing to understand is that you have rights, both as a spouse and as the mother of this child. The timing of discovering the affair is actually legally significant because it affects various aspects of divorce proceedings. What do you mean? Infidelity during pregnancy is taken very seriously by family courts, especially when it can be documented. Do you have evidence of the affair? I have his phone with the text messages, including messages he sent while I was literally giving birth. Save everything. Screenshot what you can. This will be important for custody arrangements and asset division. What about the baby's name on the birth certificate? I haven't filled it out yet. What were you planning on naming him? We had discussed naming him after Michael's father, Robert, but now... I paused, looking at my beautiful son. Now I'm thinking about naming him David. "You want to name your son after me?" David asked, clearly surprised. "You're helping me protect him and rebuild our lives during the most difficult moment I've ever faced," I said. "You're showing more care for our well-being right now than his father has shown in months." "That's incredibly kind. But are you sure you want to make such a significant decision while you're still processing everything?" I looked down at my son, who was sleeping peacefully in my arms. "I'm sure. This baby deserves to be named after someone who represents integrity, protection, and genuine care for others. Right now, that's you, not his biological father." "What about middle names? Family names you want to include?" "David James Thompson," I said decisively. "James was my grandfather's name. He was a man of honor who never would have abandoned his family." When Michael returned to the hospital that evening, presumably to apologize and try to salvage the situation, he found me filling out the birth certificate. "Rebecca, please, we need to talk," he said, approaching my bed cautiously. "There's nothing to discuss," I replied, without looking up from the paperwork. "What are you writing?" he asked, trying to see the birth certificate. "I'm naming our son," I said calmly. "Robert Michael, like we discussed?" he asked hopefully. "David James," I corrected. "David James Thompson." "David? Who's David? Why are you changing the name we agreed on?" "I'm naming him after my lawyer," I said, finally looking at Michael. "David Morrison, the man who's helping me file for divorce and establish custody arrangements." Michael's face went through a series of emotions: confusion, anger, and finally understanding. "You're naming our son after your divorce lawyer?" "I'm naming our son after a man who represents integrity and protection, qualities that will be important in his life." "Rebecca, this is insane. You can't name our child after your lawyer just because you're angry at me." "I can name my child whatever I choose. And David James Thompson is a strong name for a boy who will grow up knowing that some men can be trusted to do the right thing, even when it's difficult." The divorce proceedings moved quickly once I had legal representation. The text messages Michael sent during my labor became a crucial piece of evidence, demonstrating not just infidelity, but a particularly callous disregard for his family during a critical moment. "I've never seen evidence this damning," David told me during one of our consultations. "Texting another woman while your wife gives birth is going to be very difficult for him to explain to a judge." Michael tried to fight for joint custody, but his affair partner Ashley complicated his case significantly. It turned out she was also married, and when her husband discovered their relationship, the scandal affected Michael's job at the investment firm. Having an affair with a client's wife is generally frowned upon in financial services. "Rebecca, Michael called me 2 weeks after David was born. Please reconsider the divorce. I made a mistake, but we can work through this. Think about our son." I am thinking about our son. I'm thinking about raising him to understand that love means commitment, that marriage means fidelity, and that being a father means being present for the important moments, not texting other women during childbirth. "But David James, really? You're going to let our son go through life explaining why he's named after your divorce lawyer?" "He's going to go through life knowing he's named after a man who helped his mother when she needed it most," I corrected. "That's a story I'm proud to tell." The custody arrangement that we eventually reached gave Michael visitation rights, but primary custody to me. The judge was particularly influenced by the evidence of his affair and his behavior during the birth. "Mr. Thompson," the judge said during our final hearing, "your actions during what should have been one of the most important days of your life demonstrate a troubling lack of judgment and commitment to your family responsibilities." 6 months later, David James and I are thriving in our new life. I received a substantial settlement that allowed me to buy a beautiful house with a yard where David can play as he grows up. Michael sees him every other weekend, and while those transitions are awkward, David is too young to understand the complexity of our situation. The most unexpected outcome has been my friendship with David Morrison. What started as a professional attorney-client relationship has evolved into a genuine friendship. David has become a trusted advisor, not just for legal matters, but for life decisions. "I have to ask," David said during a recent coffee meeting where we discussed finalizing some paperwork, "do you ever regret naming David James after me?" "Never," I said, watching my 6-month-old son playing with toys on a blanket beside us. "You saved us when we needed saving most. That's worth honoring." A year later, my life looks nothing like what I had planned, but it's infinitely better than what I was settling for. David James is a happy, healthy toddler who brings joy to every day. He's walking now, saying mama and dada, though he says it to me, not Michael, and has the most infectious laugh.
Michael has moved in with Ashley, who finalized her own divorce 6 months ago. They seem happy together, which I genuinely hope they are. David James deserves to have a father who is fulfilled in his own life, even if that life doesn't include being a devoted family man. Do you think you'll ever tell David James the real story of how he got his name? My sister asked me recently. When he's old enough to understand, I said, I'll tell him that he's named after a man who showed up when we needed help, who protected us when we were vulnerable, and who proved that there are still people in the world who do the right thing simply because it's right. David Morrison and I have continued our friendship, and there's been speculation from friends and family about whether it might become something more. For now, I'm focused on raising my son and rebuilding my life. But David has been an incredible friend and supporter, and David James clearly adores him. Uncle David, David James calls out whenever David visits, which has become a regular Sunday tradition. I think he likes his namesake, David says, playing with my son in the backyard. Michael tried to contest the name on the birth certificate, arguing that naming the child after my divorce lawyer was vindictive and harmful to the child's well-being. The judge who heard his petition responded that the child seemed perfectly healthy and happy, and that his name was legally registered and would remain unchanged. Sometimes the most painful betrayals lead us to the most important revelations about what we deserve and what we're willing to accept. Michael texted another woman, "I miss you," while I was giving birth to his son. But that moment of betrayal led me to a life where my son and I are valued, protected, and genuinely loved. David James Thompson is growing up knowing that his name represents integrity, and that's a legacy I'm proud to give him.
If this story shocked you, just wait for what's next. Leave a comment, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and of course, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a single notification.